love the Laughing Monkey Music Show too by Christopher Hall. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. People that don't know, I mean, it'd be crazy not to know. Christopher is actually the lead singer of Stabbing Westward. But also, I actually loved the other band you did, Dreaming.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
To me, when Stabbing stopped and then you did Dreaming, it felt like Stabbing was like the older serious brother, and then the Dreaming came out and said, "I got a few things, same family line, blood. Some of it seemed a little more upbeat. You know what I mean? It just kind of felt like it was
Yeah.
still the same bloodline to me. It felt just felt like it was so to me it felt like a nice continuance.
It was an organic project that got out of control in a good way. Yeah. I went into it thinking I was gonna like do my dream project. This is what, I've always been sort of, writing with Andy and Walter and the same people for like 15 years. I thought I'm gonna do this. It's just gonna be me. Didn't end up like that at all. Jinx and Brent and the other guys in the Carlton all contributed so much that it kind of derailed my vision and became this own entity that was beyond me, and that was cool. I really liked it.
Well, I do want to say, but in your defense, you did something I thought was always really cool and I always admired is when the band went down, and you talked about this briefly. People aren't aware. You actually started from ground zero again
Hmm.
to learn how to record. Came an
Hmm.
intern. There's no rock star, or I don't even do air quotes, but you know what I'm saying? Attitude about it. You just wanted to do music and take
Yeah,
away the pomp and circumstance and get back to it. And there were, because you didn't do the recording and you wrote the lyrics, the melody, but not so much the music. You're like, I want to learn.
yeah.
And coming from a band that was playing out big areas, big shows, to being like, I'm an intern now. Get your
Yeah,
coffee.
I was an intern at a studio, and I interned with Brian Carlstrom, the producer who did Darkest Days with us. And he did like a bunch of Jane's Addiction and Alice in
Mhm.
Chains and stuff like that. But I got to be his intern working on other projects under him, and then eventually working on projects side by side with him, and it kind of taught me everything I know about producing now. And that was the best way to kind of restart my career.
Yeah. Well, I think well, first off, he's a fantastic producer. I mean, it's just the only way you can. It's definitely a trade where it's like back in the day, you became like a swords person or some like weird skill set. You have to intern and really work side by side and work your
Yeah,
way up as a producer.
there's a lot of people that think that you can just buy some software and learn how to run Ableton Live and suddenly you're a producer. But when I worked with Brian, I learned how to, you know, mic a drum kit and use a hardware compressor and I started to understand how it all really worked, not just dial up preset vocal setting and have
Yeah.
it, sound that way. So yeah, that was a really, really big deal for me.
At that point, it was I think they're switching over digital. I went to school for recording, and everything I learned right towards the end it was in the '90s, early '90s. It was still analog. So what were you in a crossover spot where it was analog digital mix?
Yeah, so all the stabbing records were done analog,
Yeah.
except for Darkest Days we did on digital 2-inch tape.
Yeah.
So it was recorded, but it was still recorded to tape. There was no Pro Tools at that point.
Right.
The self-titled record was the first Pro Tools record that we did. And it seemed like magic to me to a certain degree. And I think that's one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons, but that one came out the most polished sounding. And I think a
Uh-huh.
lot of that had to do with Beat Detective and Auto Tune and a lot of the stuff that had just come out
Mhm.
that was sort of taking the raw the rawness out of music, which
Yeah.
at the time everyone thought was, oh, this is awesome, but it really wasn't. It really kind of like took
It
away.
did take the soul out of some.
Yeah, it did. I mean, when you try your hardest not to make a mistake and you give everything you have to a vocal, but there's still a couple of like weird moments. That's great. That's awesome. I mean, think of Jane's Addiction and Perry Farrell. That guy couldn't sing in tune to save his life, but one of the like most intense, vibey, emotional voices you'll ever hear. Same with
Oh, I
Chris,
agree.
people like that in the '90s. Yeah, and then Autotune came and just sort of ruined everything.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing to me at the time I thought was exciting was like, all right, I'm interested in learning about this a little bit because anything you not have to learn to keep doing patch cables because
Mhm.
crazy again. I'm
Oh,
like, yeah.
I still
That's
have
why
a
I'm saying I'm looking at. I'm like, but I
yeah,
was. I've been in studios where it was just like insane. It was just so much. I'm like, if there's a better way, I'm interested. but
yeah,
but besides that, it was really like you really felt like everyone was just polishing up, polishing a turd. For a lot of bands, it
yeah.
was just you
I
know,
a lot of the work that I do as a producer is trying to find a band will send me a song and the idea of the song is there, but they haven't fully realized it. It's still like
mm,
in pieces, and I have to go in and chip away at the extra layers of crap that they put on top and find the essence of the song. And
yeah,
then I'll put it out and I'll send it back to him like, this is your song. This is the melody. This is the chord structure. Let's get rid of all this extra garbage and focus on
mm,
that and then record around that. Just reminding people because it's so easy with Ableton Live or Pro Tools or whatever, if you've got like 15,000 synth plugins to just like dump a bunch of layers of crap on top of something, but you need to get to the heart of the onion before you. I'm making a lot of weird mixed metaphors here. you,
no,
you,
this
you
is good. I'm
find the
actually
heart
gonna make I'm gonna
of
make a cookbook from this afterwards.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm writing it all down.
Oregano is for savages.
But it is no, it's true. And I think the problem is, I mean, and I've heard this before, is like to go to the singer, don't take the effects off. Sing from your heart. Sing. I mean, just if we need to polish up a little bit, we can because whatever if we have to. But you got to put your heart into it first. You got to really do it.
That's the thing.
Don't
That's
don't
what
just think you're gonna put it out there and then we're gonna fix it for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that Pro Tools can't do is add soul. It can't add
Right.
emotion. But the thing it can do, which I do find useful, is that if you have a singer who really throws his soul into a track, but he gets a little pitchy, cool, I can fix that. I can
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
bring your pitch back in as long as you are singing hard or singing, with some emotion, then it's better to get the emotion and use an auto tune or something like that to blend it into the track better than to worry about singing perfectly. So that's sort of a counter defense of auto tune is that it does allow singers to take more risks without having to worry about the precision of the pitch. But at the same time, if they're pitchy, it's okay. As long as you.
Yeah. Some singers.
What was that?
As for some singers, it depends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But actually, Peripheral's a good example. Somebody built a career without being able to sing. If you go online and YouTube, you can see isolated vocals from the past many years. People listen to difference, and you'll hear the soul of just like some of these other rock bands. You're like, yeah, I really like that band, but man, I didn't realize a singer could really sing like this without any effects. Like, that's some fun stuff to look at and then, a band, especially starting out, you go listen to that, and then come back to your songwriting.
yeah.
And not rely on this. I mean, you're like the final stop for a band. You shouldn't be the first stop.
The
You know,
producer.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that there's two kinds of producers. There's the kind that just polish what you give them,
right.
and I like to like sort of start from the beginning. I like to sit down with bands and work with them on their songwriting. Like if they've got
Mhm.
a cool idea, a lot of times they won't recognize the cool idea. They'll like write too many words or too many melodies or too many layers, and you help them find the core of it, and then they can extrapolate on that.
Do you?
Extrapolate. That's a good word.
I actually just want to boggle because of you right now. That was the winning word. Thank you.
What's
I just want to boggle because of you. Thank you. Remember the game, the shaking, the word game? Yeah,
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
look it up. um, so as a producer, people will get into the band in a minute, but I'm interested in your producer work too, though. Do people think they're gonna get a sound with you when they come to you as a producer, like expecting to be like, this is a dude from Stoutland Westward? Are they thinking like that? Are they like, what I'm saying? Like, where are you at with your musical reputation, or just
I,
is it
I
just
think
out there?
starting to develop a bit of a style that people come to me for. I mean, I did the Unit Code Machine. I did that whole album, and
Mhm.
that was cool because he writes really beautiful songs, but he just needed some help focusing the writing. And
Yeah,
then I've got a really good mixing studio with I've got an SSL and a bunch of outboard gear, so I'm able to separate it and get some clarity and air in it that he couldn't get inside the box. But he trusted me a lot to sort of like guide the arrangements of his songs so that they were a bit
yeah.
more listener friendly. Um, and I think I think I do have like a sonic sort of weird 80s, 90s industrial electronic Depeche Mode Matrix kind of like style that I personally find appealing and cool. And
Yeah.
I do tend to put that stamp on stuff. More when people ask me to do a remix. If
Okay.
a metal band or a band asks me to do a remix, I'll generally do it so that it sounds like it could be from the John Wick soundtrack
Yeah.
or something like that. It'll have like a 90s feel to it.
I think remixes are kind of like that. You do a remix because you're trying to add a certain, what's it, a genre flavor to it is really.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do remixes to just like I think of like 80s and 90s remixes as being just like let's do like a fucked up version of the song that you'd never hear on the radio that
Right.
is chopped up and stuff like that. I try and make the song even more like it could be on the radio. I really try and hone in on the chorus, and I still do the same production work where I try and
Right.
bring the essence of the song. I just then layer in, I get rid of all the bass guitar and just layer in like cool synth lines and melodies and stuff like that.
Because
So
you're a vocalist, you're like, I just give it all the bass and I just do everything else. I really focus on the vocalist for some reason.
I do focus on vocals because that's the most important part.
I know it feels kind of one-sided though. I don't know.
Yeah, Walter does a lot of production too, and he doesn't really like vocals. He's kind of
Yeah.
like a rave DJ electronic guy, and he's just like, yeah, the vocals are just sort of something you're forced to put in at the track at the end. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the entire song. It's literally
Well,
the whole thing. You could take a good vocal, put it with an acoustic guitar, and make it a folk song or a country song or a
yeah.
ska song. You can make it any style you want. It doesn't have to be whatever it is if it's a great song.
It is, and I would say one of the things about that you guys stand out, you guys are still around now, even though you got back together. I think it's because it's almost like you have two great songs, like the vocal melodies and the music. The music of that could
Yeah,
just be a soundtrack music,
yeah.
but the vocals, those melodies could go on to being other songs, but they would work together, layered together,
Yeah,
fantastic. And
thanks.
I think that is the strength of the band.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Walter and Andy did an amazing job creating like a soundtrack for the
Mhm.
90s. And then I just got the chance to sing over it, which was cool.
Well, yeah, but not just that. I mean, you have a great voice, and you have a great take on melody,
Yeah.
and how to use the
Andy,
melody with the right
Andy
words too, so it's not
oh,
cheesy.
too. Andy and I had very different um approaches to melody. And he was also a great melodic writer. You can hear like what do I have to do? And sometimes
Mhm.
it hurts and haunting me songs like that where all Andy wrote the whole thing.
Oh
And
yeah,
those are melodies that I never would have written. I never would have thought to write those. And it, it it was awesome for me because not only like when we did the Chase and Ghost album, I wrote all the melodies and all the vocals. And it's hard to come up with 10 or 12 songs that don't sound the same,
right.
And when you're a writer as prolific as Andy, um, adding to the menu of songs, then it takes a lot of pressure off me to try and come up with so many different ideas. But it also like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. That's freaking cool. Um, yeah, so it was fun writing with three people. I kind of miss it.
Well, I mean, and if people don't know, actually, the Chasing Ghosts came out in 2021,
Yeah, kinda.
kind of ish,
Yeah,
and it's a
right
great
after.
album. People aren't aware, but go back. I mean, it's the newest that you have. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
newer
yeah.
stuff you're working on. But I do want to step back. I think you did like in 2020, guys. You did a couple EPs like Hollowed Hymns and some Dead. And
Yeah.
Hollowed Hymns is such a fun. I mean, felt like you had to do that like legally just because of the cool music on it, right? Because you had to do the Killing Moon. I mean,
Oh yeah, that
like
was the cover record, right?
yeah, it was a Halloween cover record. I
Yeah,
feel like
Halloween
your
cover.
band should have done it a long time ago. It just feels like the joke is legally just because of the type of music it was.
Hmm.
It was just so you.
Thanks. Yeah, I loved that little EP. That was
Yeah.
fun. I
You
thought Walter Killing Moon, and then I
yeah.
did the production for the other three. And the three I did were like, was it three or two? Burn,
There
Everyday's
was
Hell.
Burn, Every Day is Halloween, and there's a second Burn mix at the end.
Oh, right,
Like
right, right,
it's like the
right.
Devil's mix or some
Yeah, that
I
was
don't know, something.
Carlton. I can't remember. Carlton, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, the versions of Burn and Halloween that I did were fairly traditional covers where you could recognize the song.
Hmm.
The Killing Moon Walter did was basically a brand new song. Like I could change the vocal on that and it would be a
I
brand
know.
it
It would have
nothing.
been, yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the. I'm like, damn, dude, how do you do that? That's so cool.
it is good, but like I couldn't tell you the difference. Like I didn't know who produced anything. So to me, it all worked together,
Yeah,
production wise and sound wise. So it didn't on the outside. It's not like, well, these are like totally different. You know, like you have different people do it. It's the continuity is there between the
yeah,
songs and the production.
yeah.
You know,
I think
um,
yeah, I do think that he mixed Healing Moon though, so it's pretty cool that we're able to capture a sound like that where we're able to keep it together.
well, that also works with your vocals and the music too. I mean, that's kind of the kind of like the
Writing,
secret sauce. If we're doing ingredients, it's a secret sauce. I'm gonna
yeah,
throw mine in now,
we've been doing it for 42 years or something together. Like yeah,
right? So what I found interesting, and I always wanted to ask you was you did an interview once, and they're asking you questions about the album. It was the newest one, the 221 album, and you there were some things you weren't sure about, like what order it was on and stuff. Like it feels like if you were the producer and you're doing so much production, like you would have really been more on controlling the album. It almost feels like you went in the studio, did a lot of the work,
yeah,
and then someone's making all the decisions.
I didn't have any control over Chasing Ghosts. I got to do I wrote half the album, Walter wrote half the album, and then we had John Fryer mix it. And
Mhm.
I think they put John's name on as producer, but he didn't really produce it. Walter did the music for half the album. I did the music for half the album. And then he mixed him and John mixed Walter's half
Yeah,
during COVID while I was in we moved to Maui for the year during COVID. And my boys were doing school Zoom and stuff like that. So we were really kind of out of the loop and
yeah.
not I didn't have a studio or anything. And so they did the record while I was in Maui and I didn't even know they were doing it. I thought that we were going to put it on hold and then when COVID was over, get back together and work on it. So one day
This
I
makes
get
much more sense to me now after seeing
yeah,
that interview. I was like, how does he
one day I
not know
get
like what the
an
song
email
order is?
saying that, well, my half of the record is done. You should start working with John on your half of the record. I'm like, wait, what? Like I didn't even know that the songs were finished. I thought that we
Yeah,
were like I had done one of the songs, Control Z. Uh, Carlton and I had done an alternate version of the song, and Walter had written music that he liked, and he just put my vocal on top of his music, and that ended up being the version on the album because that's what John mixed. But Carlton and I, in the meantime, had done a completely alternate version of it with like different melodies and slightly different. It was like a different song, but the same lyrical content. And I was just like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, dude, how are we not on the same page?" And then I
it's like
realized,
a three-headed hydra with you guys. Like I'm like, how are
yeah,
you guys not all signing off at the end before it
it
goes
was
to press?
it was COVID. It was the fact that I was really off the grid at that point. I was like in Maui with my kids. We were taking karate and their schoolwork was all Zoom. So we just had this like sort of daily routine that did not include the band, because I didn't all I had was an ukulele over there. I didn't even have like a laptop or anything. So there's nothing I could do. So I thought we were on hold, but
You could have
apparently,
signed off on. It. You could have known what was going on. I think Zoom was a good communication tool.
yeah, it
I'm not
was
trying to start things, but I'm like, communication could have been like, hey, we're working on the album. Hey, this is what the
yeah,
tracks
yeah.
are.
There
You
was
know,
there was some bitterness at the end of that process, but
no. But
I'll
moving
get.
forward, it really is a good album, and it stands out in the catalog
I
that
think
it
they're really
works.
good songs. Yeah,
Yeah, so it works. It worked. Whatever happened, I'm sure you guys
Mhm.
took care of it, made amends.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
interview, but the interview baffled me. I'm like, this dude writes some music. I know you do production and you're producing stuff, so you really got your ear to the music. And I'm like, but it's a surprise to you on your new album. And
Yeah.
the other guy does more. I'm like, how did that
Honestly,
even
I hadn't
happen?
heard the like half of it. I hadn't even heard it. It was really weird.
I go, 1 second, yeah. Did I lose you?
Okay.
Hold on.
You
I'm
there?
here. Sorry. Yep, there we go. Now it's back.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
My
Was it
audio
on my
popped
end?
out. The audio popped out for a minute. It's
Oh,
weird.
okay.
All right. Anyway, so so we got past that. That was good. I mean, but it's
Yeah,
still a
yeah,
good
yeah.
album. It's phenomenal, and I'm glad you guys are still talking.
Oh yeah,
So,
no,
I know, I know,
it wasn't Walter.
I know, I know.
It was much more John. Just sort of wanted to like get it done. He just wanted to spend a day mixing a song. At the end of the day, you send him
Mhm.
your notes, change this, and then the next morning he'd fix it and then he'd move on. I spend 2 weeks on a song.
Yeah.
If I'm mixing a song for someone, it's like a couple of weeks. I really
Well,
dive
once
in.
you said that, being in the studio or like being in bands, anybody's ever done any work like that understands how that process just happened. Now I get what was going on. So you
Yeah,
saying that sometimes people are just in their head and they're focused and like it's fine, really fine with it. They're gonna like it when I do it. It's just don't usually no malcontent. It's usually about I got a vision. Everyone's gonna like it. I'm gonna focus in on it.
yeah. I don't. I think that having John mix that record was a double-edged sword. Everyone was so excited about putting the dream team from Wither back together, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
But I had gotten to the point with the dreaming where I really liked being in control
yeah.
of the songs. I didn't want people adding, um, like the self-titled record soured me so badly on producers
Yeah.
changing the image or the sound of the bands too
Felt
much.
darker.
I
Yeah,
wanted
you
to,
said.
I constantly want to hold it really close and not let anybody touch it. Um, yeah, so from this point going forward, it will only be Walter and I produce. Well, I mean, if we do music,
Right,
so
but she'll be making the ultimate decisions. But just in fact, in despite of, it still came out really good without
oh
sounding in a
yeah.
bad way. So everyone lucked out. I mean, it could have gone really, really bad, not being good sound. But
Well, I don't think
so
Walter
where,
would not bad.
right?
He,
But
he's
where are you?
what's that?
He's got control over it too, which is good. I mean,
Yeah,
where are you guys now with music? Because I mean, you guys have been playing out. You don't have to put out albums anymore the way they used to be. It's
right.
definitely an artist's creativity point. You're doing writing, you're doing production, you guys are doing live dates, your dad, you know. So you've got things on your plate,
Yeah,
you know. How are we finding the balance now? Because and I do want to say one other thing to preface that you're at a different point in your life where when you guys first came out, you guys were like the young guns and it was in rock and so bands are being put aside, just like rock but disco side. That now coming back again, you're just like the other rock bands and stuff where you've got your established audience, you know, and you're at an established point in your career. You could get new fans, but you know what I'm saying? You're not that young
yeah.
gun band, so you kind of like don't have to prove anything.
We're not chasing new fans. Yeah. There's weird debates and conversations in the van about, oh, what if we did this, or things you could do to like get a younger fan base or get new fans and stuff. And I'm like, I don't really think it's worth the effort. I think that you just put out good music for the people that know you. And if something organically happens where younger kids, because we're playing a lot of festivals. We played a festival in Ohio where we got to play in front of Bad Omens, which is like a really big kind of popular band at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of their fans got to see us play, and that's kind of cool because I think that there's some cross generational,
Yeah,
similarities or whatnot. Um, and opportunities like that arise when we play a lot of the bigger festivals, just a chance to get in front of other people's fans. But I don't think that it in the early days of Stabbing, it was like, you had to constantly sell yourself and try and build it because you're on a
yeah.
record label, and you have to get
Mm-hmm.
radio play and you have to get MTV and it has to constantly be building. I don't really feel that pressure anymore. And a lot of it's just because we do it for the love of it. It's not about the money anymore. I have money, so I don't need to hustle every single day to try and, pay the rent or whatever. So for me, it's more about us going out and playing shows because we love to
Mm-hmm.
play shows, giving the fans kind of what they want. We've got the 30th anniversary of Wither coming up, I think 2026. So I'd like to focus on doing something really special for that. Maybe doing the whole album with some cool production and doing like a proper tour.
Yeah,
Maybe do some kind of a release based around that. We haven't really talked much about new music. I went through a pretty horrific couple of years and didn't even know if I was going to be able to sing again. So the
oh
fact that
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so the fact that we're just touring again and doing that feels really good to me. And the one thing I don't want to do is write a record about like going through cancer. I don't want to be that guy. I want to get to the point where I don't think about it all the time or care anymore. And then maybe I can write music. But for me, music is like writing these songs is very personal, and it has to be something that's inspired. I have to have something in my life that has triggered me, that has made me want to sit down and write something. I can't just say, okay, it's time to write a new record. Let me self-evaluate and see what if I can, pick at any scabs and dig up, some sort of intense thing to write about. I kind of need to have something trigger me. And that did trigger me, but I don't know that there's any songs that I want to write about it. So
Well, I mean, I think because you guys got together, what, 2016, and you didn't do a full album until 21. So it's not about rushing you. It's
yeah,
just asking, like, is there one in the future? Or do you realize after this album, you're like, yeah, maybe we'll just do EPs the rest of the time,
yeah,
or
maybe we'll just do a
or
few.
or like the albums are funny because you're old school, like you know what I mean? It's just that's more the question, not
Honestly, nobody's waiting for us to write a new record. When we play shows, we hardly play anything off of Chasing Ghosts because you can see the fans either haven't heard it or they don't know it well enough that it entertains them while they're at the show. And end of the day, we're there to entertain the people who, paid 25, $30 to see us
right.
play. And I know
Oh,
when I see a band play, I want to hear if I were to go see let me think of an example. If I was to go see Gary Newman play,
I was going to give you that example myself. I had mine, so we were talking about this.
yeah, I would want
But
to hear songs from Savage, Broken World, like My Name Is Ruin, and that's the album that I kind of got into during COVID. And I wouldn't necessarily want to hear a bunch of songs off his newest album. I would want to hear the hits of the songs that I've known through his career. I would listen to songs that he played off his new album because I'm a good fan, but I would do it with less enthusiasm than I would than if he played the songs that I love nearly like
right,
that are art. And I reckon, okay, like going to see Peter Hook in the Light. I want
okay.
to hear Division and New Order. I don't want to hear Peter Hook's new songs. And he doesn't play new songs. He knows that we don't care, and I appreciate that. And
You're so harsh.
I know, but it's true, and we have to think that our fans are not 15-year-olds. They're 40 and 50-year-olds that want to hear the music they grew up with, and that's why when we play a show, we play 95% the hit songs from the
Right.
four records. We add in Bizarre Love Triangle. We add in the Burn cover because everyone likes to hear a song that they know, and a different version of it. And we just try and make it as you walk away feeling like you got your, everything that you're hoping to hear. Now, there's always going to be the people that like, oh, I wanted the Japanese, B-side
Right.
Dawn, some weird obscure track that, oh, you once sang a Tori Amos song at a sound check. I
Yeah.
wanted that. Well, you don't count on that, but
No, no, no. I mean, like there are other people that like when I had Gary on talking, he's the same problem. But so if you look at his fan base, they're really, really intense. Where they're like they only want to hear stuff from the very early '80s or like then they don't even like the Savage. They're like that's just he's already gone off the jump the shark at that point. So there are different camps of albums. So he's
oh,
already in his
oh yeah,
spot,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And you know what I'm saying?
cars,
So right. So
yeah.
so for that, so if someone like you have newer fans, and you can newer fans just by playing gigs with different bands that you would have
Mhm.
played with, or like I just sent a link of some of your music to my daughter. Saying, oh, this is who I'm talking to today. I don't know if I ever introduced you to this band. You know, so that's one of the ways organically. And I know you've got to go to a show, and if it's a festival, you have a limited time, and it's a great sits package because you got to please. I get it. I've always appreciated as a fan extra if when there's a longer show, the band does get to do fun songs that they wrote that they liked,
Mhm.
and everyone's going for the beers. I'm that guy who kind of likes it. I don't expect
Yeah,
it, but I am one of the few people that appreciate when a band does a new song they like and they play it. You know,
yeah. I
minority, I know.
I think I think our set list for the most part it's gone from like 25 or 30 songs. We usually play about 16 or 17 a night.
Mm-hmm.
We have like I think between 25 and 20, like 25 and 30 that the current band can play that they know and we have tracks for and we have video for and stuff like that. Because we have like not a lot of production because we fly everywhere, but we have video and some lighting and stuff like that that's all synced up to
Right.
tracks. And so you have to have tracks with click track that the drummer can hear. So we can't just off the cuff say, oh, let's just play, you know, like random song off of On God. We'd have to have the
Right.
production ready for it. But I think we're covering a pretty, we're playing 3 or 4 songs off On God, 4 or 5 songs off Wither, 5 or 6 songs off Darkest Days, and 2 songs off the self-titled. I think we were playing 2 songs off Chasing Ghosts, and then a couple of covers that are covers that we've done in the past.
Do
We
you do
did.
any dreaming?
What's that?
Are you gonna do any of the dreaming?
No, but we were actually talking about. You're talking about new songs, and one of the songs that Walter and I want to dig up from the Dreaming was a song we did called "Alone." It was on the
Yeah,
last
yeah, yeah.
album. It's a really great song,
Beautiful.
and it was
Blink is
sort.
good too. Blink would be
It
a
was
good one.
what's that?
Blink would be a good one too in that
Oh,
set.
Blink song too. I really liked "Let It Burn" a lot,
Yeah.
and I would go back and treat those songs as if we'd written a new song as Stabbing Westward, and sort of take the pieces that I like and then produce it like a Stabbing Westward song.
Okay.
Me less metal Warped Tour band and more whatever it is that we are now. Um, we've had weird conversations about what kind of band we are. Like I thought when we put the band back together that we were going for more of the when we started the band in the 80s, we wanted to be this like industrial, but not metal, sort of industrial
Mhm.
Depeche Mode, melodic, kind of Nine Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine era before he
Mhm.
went more metal-wish kind of thing. Um, that was kind of what the inspiration of the band was. And then it sort of got derailed as different members joined the band. Southwest is texting me. Not derailed. It got pushed in different directions. Um, in karate, we have a phrase that water flows downhill and splits as it goes around the different rocks. It sounds better in Korean, but the idea is that the teacher teaches the students something, and then those students become teachers, and the way that they remember it branches off, and it all comes from the original source, but it kind of branches off, and that's how I think of Stabbing Westward. That Walter and I were the original source of the idea of the band and the sound of the band. But as like Stuart Zekman joined the band, he made us more metal. As Andy joined the band, he brought us more pop. And as different members came and went from the band, it sort of steered the band in different directions. At one point, to me, Stabby sounded like Bush. Like we had songs that were just straight up rock songs with no keyboards.
Cool.
And that felt weird to me. Like, why are there no synths in this song? Like, why is it just bass guitar, drums, and guitar? Are we Green Day? What's happening? Um, so when we put the band back together, I thought if we write new songs, we would write them more sort of 90s, late 80s industrial. But we were playing shows at these radio festivals or these summer festivals, and we're playing with Shinedown and Nonpoint and what was that band? I can't remember the other band we played. It was a
Okay.
bunch of 90s rock bands.
Right.
And I started to realize, oh wow, we're like a 90s alt rock band with keyboards. We're not Skinny Puppy or Ministry, or we're not really
Right.
up camp. We're way more of Puddle of Mud. That's who we played with. Um, and I was like, we have more in common with Puddle of Mud than we do Skinny Puffy at this point. And we're having this deep conversation about it. Walter's like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's who we are. That's what we do. And I'm like, well, I thought it was a chance to reinvent ourselves. And he's like, well, we have fans. I'm like, ah. So it just becomes this like long philosophical, like, who are we and what do we want to be? And how do we balance who we want to be with who people expect us to be, which is part of how we got the title Chasing Ghosts. Um, the idea of what our fans want us to be, the idea of, well, we need to make an album that will redeem ourselves from
Mhm.
those self-titled, which is the last thing anyone had heard from us. We need to redeem ourselves from that disappointment, from that drastic change of the sound of the band. And I came up with the title Chasing Ghosts. I'm like, are we just chasing like phantoms that don't exist? Like, are we so concerned about what fans think
Yeah.
and want that we're chasing ghosts. We don't know what they want. Why do we? I don't mean this disrespectfully, but why do we give a shit what they want? We shouldn't care. As artists, we should only care about what we think is right and what we want to do from the heart. And then the fans will choose to accept it or like not accept it, whatever. But we shouldn't be like what is it when they take a movie to the screeners early so they can
Oh
screen
yeah, like a preview. Yeah, screen
yeah,
test again.
yeah, screen. We
We,
should screen test it. We should just write what we think is right, put it out there, and not worry about the past, not worry about what people are gonna think or have thought in the past. Like that's all just like phantoms in your mind that you're messing with.
no,
Um,
and I think your sound is just whatever you write. I mean, I wouldn't even worry about the sound. Just whatever songs you write, you go, this was a good song today. This was
right.
heavier. This was not heavier. Just be a songwriter.
Yeah, but it's hard. You do get these thoughts in your head where it's like, okay, what hat am I wearing today? Am I the dreaming hat? Am I the stabbing hat? Am I a producer hat? Like who am I today? And it's like, oh,
Yes,
stabbing. Okay, I have to have dum ba dum ga is the drum beat for every song. And so you end up finding yourself writing
right.
in that. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to write completely different, which is why I think Chasing Ghosts came out kind of cool. I think
Well,
it's
it's a good album. I'll be interested to see what talking to you what the next creative process is going to be as you guys try to whittle it down.
yeah,
It'll be interesting to see what kind of sounds you come up with. I don't
yeah.
think you should be locked into anything. I don't think it doesn't matter to the fans. The fans like you for what you guys write. That's the whole point of it. You guys didn't like what you wrote the last album as much because it's so dark. That so the fans it affects it. So I mean, generally, what you've liked is probably been the bigger hits because it's your heart was in it more.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
So
I
if you
think
write something you really loved, you can be like, oh, I'm proud of this album. It sounds different, but I am proud of that. It sounds different. And then nowadays people interpret things on the internet so different now. Anyhow,
you have
you
to be
can't
so
win.
careful. Like a passing thought in an interview like this. Like I'm just speaking from, like the moment.
Yeah,
Something that you say just like tossing out there can suddenly become, you know, uh what is the word when it's part of like canon. It could become canon, like the lore of Stabbing Westward. Chris said in this interview, blah blah blah. No, Chris is an idiot that's wired on caffeine this morning, so he's just babbling. Don't take
yeah.
what I say as
No, no Bibles, no big quotes here. This is just
yeah, yeah,
talking, and that's the whole thing with I hate using interview. It's more of a conversation at this point about topics, that are music related. That and try to be more things I've read from fans also, and I try to interpret things that I've read other fans have said or had questions about, and put it in my spot of me saying it. Sometimes it's things that were crafted from other things I picked up prior to this that maybe I'm answering some other fan questions that wouldn't be in the because you guys do have the certain journal questions that are you get the same top 10 questions like when did you start music? When did this album? When was
right,
this? And that's a gig for some other people. I'm not gonna knock them. That's not why I started the show. I'm about other stuff. Talk about this, the production, and this is a cool thing you did. What was your thought on this? And these are questions other fans have. So this is just you talking how you felt. I mean,
mhm.
that's where we live in now. But it's interesting how you hear an honest take on how you feel, and that you could change tomorrow.
Oh
Because
yeah, in 10 minutes. I'll go on to work and be like, what was I thinking when I said that? Yeah.
you just made this whole interview invalid before it even goes up. What? That's pretty funny though. So we'll wrap this up. I want to keep it tight, but I wanted to just touch base with you and share some of the stuff. People, if you aren't aware, go back and check out the Dreaming. It's some really great stuff, and then the back catalog too. If you're not aware, you're stabbing. Um, I do think on the last album it was darker, but the production was different. I do think there's some good tracks on it. So I'm going to say to other people that haven't heard it, check it
Dreaming,
out because I wouldn't throw it out. Throw it out. I think there's some good stuff on it still.
the last Dreaming album, you mean?
No. The last stabbing. Check all the Dreaming
Uh,
albums. I think all the Dreaming albums are just a knockout, basically like a knockout of the park. They're really good.
yeah,
The last stabbing he has moments still. There's still some good stuff on there though. I think.
I think the last Stabbing record was the best that we've done since Wither. I think
Yeah.
that the was really strong. I think songs like Ghost and Dead
No.
Man.
I mean, I meant like the last one before you guys come back together again that you were talking about.
Talking about the self-titled record.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm
There's a
saying I think there's a good moment on there as a fan though.
I,
I mean, you have a history at it. You're attached to it differently.
I think So Far Away was a great song.
Hmm.
I think Television was a great song. Um, Yeah, you know, the only thing was a great song. It was more Pink Floyd and a bit chirpier the way that we demoed it. It got the guitar player that they hired that nobody knew, really just sort of like
That's
sprinkled
bananas.
chord fairy farts all over everything, and just sort of yeah, he was just too much of a ray of sunshine. It's like this isn't happy music. Why are you playing like Oasis licks? I don't understand. Um,
Somebody was in his ear at the production. They're
what's
like, we want a happy album. We want to sell some copies. We want
I do believe that was the producer and the manager's decision
yeah,
that dark music was falling to the wayside, and we
yeah,
needed to make a Goo Goo Dolls jump.
yeah.
Which
Not a
is
cool move.
terrible because freaking Linkin Park came out like a year later, sounding like Stabbing Westward and exploded. If we had just been us, it would have been fine, you know?
Or at least kept yourself together for another album, or taking a
Yeah,
break,
it,
you
it,
know.
it that was that whole process was so toxic. That
You,
whole
you wouldn't be here right now, probably though. I mean, you may have imploded if you didn't take that break though, or
what's
break up then. You may not have been able to heal the band to get back together if that
yeah,
didn't happen at the time in hindsight. And being a father, that you looking back, things are totally different. You're like, sometimes there's a reason why things go, and that's just not in the cards. You know,
yeah, yeah. I mean it had been the band had always been challenging because we had three really gifted people in the band, three writers that were all could easily have their own band.
mm,
And that makes it challenging, but it's also a blessing. And we'd managed to kind of balance those egos. And it wasn't just ego. Ego sounds negative. Each person had a very, very driven vision of what they wanted their songs to be. And
right.
so as a singer who was doing half the album with Walter and half the album with Andy, I had to constantly be there for both guys, like make sure that neither one, I was always in the middle, never
Yeah,
Walter or Andy's guy. And it was a very politically fraught sort of situation. But we always managed to maintain a balance. You know, we had little battles and stuff, but we always managed to remember that we're on the same team and trying to make the end goal was to make each song as great as it can be. Um, and that all got fucked up on that last album. That balance just got destroyed. We hired a new manager. She pitted people against each other, thought it would create like a Rolling Stones sort of situation, and it didn't. It destroyed the
that's
band.
awful. That's
Yeah, it was.
awful. I hope that manager's not doing any more bands because it was pretty crappy. You
I
know,
I was shocked that I did another band. I thought I would go solo after that, and I was put together a band, and we trusted each other and wrote all those dreaming songs, and it was cool.
I think it
Talk,
worked out great. I mean, I think it made you a better person. I think,
yeah,
coming back, I think you never would have taken the time to become a producer in the middle of your life at this point. If the band had
yeah,
succeeded for a couple more years, you might have been in a different headspace, and then you wouldn't be a producer. You wouldn't be who you are.
yeah,
Then you're grasping as far as now you don't have to do the band. You can do the production. You can write your own music. Having more options makes it way easier for you to be in the band now and enjoy it
yeah.
without it being so everything being over the top.
Well, I know it's hard to believe, but being in Stabbing Westward is just a fraction of who I am.
I
I'm a
believe it.
and I teach karate. I've got this whole daily life that has nothing to do with Stabbing Westward. 90% of the people in my life have never seen the band play. They have no idea. They know I'm in a band. They know I
Yeah,
have weird hair, tattoos, but for the most part, it's just something that is on the peripheral. Um,
which
I
is
don't,
good. It keeps you grounded.
yeah, it's just not who I am. It's part of what I am, but it's not me. I don't walk around saying Christopher from Stabbing Westward.
It's probably very healthy you don't do
Like
that.
I'm the instructor at this school.
The karate might be even cooler though,
Yeah,
because no one makes you feel less cool than your kids. Any musicians like you can have 10,000 people talking to you, and after you go backstage, your kids are like, "Oh, Dad, you're such a dork." Like nothing
right.
will ground you more than your offspring.
They
Keep the
haven't
life
seen
out of you.
me yet. They haven't seen me sing yet.
Oh,
I think
wow,
we're doing Sick New World in Vegas, the festival in Vegas next April, and I think I'm gonna bring my kids to that one so they can stand on the stage and see 25,000 people and be like, "Oh, that's what Dad does. That's why Dad disappears on the weekends." Yeah. So
Might have to, we might get a couple extra cool points too. And they're like, oh,
what's that?
you might get a couple extra cool points to be able to stand in
Yeah,
front of an audience. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because that's
really
hard to
cool
talk
bands
in front of people.
they like, and they might get to watch other cool bands and be like, oh, you know them. No, I don't know them, but
Yeah,
I the same thing they
it's really
much earlier
cool.
today, but you know.
So the one question I want to add, so are you taking, if people are interested in producing,
Am
can
I
they reach
what?
out to you? If people are interested in you doing producing, can they reach out to you?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you
just
taking?
email me.
Okay. I'm gonna put the links there, people, so they can reach out, reach out to you and
Yeah,
you know, put it out there,
I get
maybe be playing.
every week I get random bands like band from Germany just hit me up, will you remix the song? And yeah,
All right.
cool.
So
You
people
don't
know that that's I want to end on that because it's a very cool thing you do.
I mean
And it's
that's like he just walked up to me at a show in Chicago at Cold Waves and asked if I'd be interested in doing a remix. And he was one of the first people, him and the band The Hunger out of Houston were the first two bands to trust me with like a whole album. And that was awesome.
yeah.
I was like, me? Really? Okay. Yeah, let's do it. I had no idea if I could do it.
I'm gonna
And
have to go back and listen now and find out which bands you did and compare and listen to the production now. I wasn't aware of all that. I'm gonna have to.
then new Unit Code album and then compare it to what he did before. And you can kind of hear what
All
my
right.
influences were.
I'll put some good headphones on and check it out. I'm gonna do
Yeah,
that. All right, Christopher, I want to say thank you. This is great.
yeah, talking to me.
I really enjoyed this talk about everything else besides stabbing. Been a fan, so it's really nice to talk about this other stuff and get this other side of you out there.
Oh,
And once again, people don't be cool and stuff because by the time he gets off this call, he's gonna have coffee. He's gonna forget
change
everything and
my
say,
mind. Yeah.
"Yeah, he totally not agree with this anyhow." So this might be the opposite interview.
I'll probably have blonde hair by then again too. So
Well, that was the thing. I think, yeah, I think we were talking before. You're like, I just got my hair cut today. I'm like, oh, who knows
yeah,
what he's gonna look like?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Went
All right.
dark. Went back to dark. Cool.
Well,
I'll
thank you,
see you.
man. I appreciate it. You take care. Bye bye.